Hello everyone, welcome again to another Marco Bella episode. I'm Marco.
And I'm Bella, and together we're
Marco Bella.
Oh my gosh, guys, it's been a minute since we have done a jolly, happy
a duo.
duo. And
wow.
I'm so excited to have my partner in crime next to me. Isn't he looking handsome? He just got his hair cut, right? Marco always looks good when he's had his hair cut. And I have just also washed my hair, so I probably also look good.
Just a reflection of me. But what I was actually going to say is that I don't do this often, get a haircut, purely because I know I look too good, so I worry about that. So it's always good to kind of have that rough look, you know. So
he always says that, like, oh, I don't want to cut my hair all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what his little catchphrase?
It's all about managing that.
Apparently, when he was younger, he said, all you need to get a girl is what?
A trim and £5.
Imagine. All you need
Well, a
to
trim
get
so you look.
£5.
Wait, hang on. Let's put it into context. A trim so you look sharp, and £5 so you can actually treat her to something. It could be an ice cream. You go for a walk, maybe a coffee or something like that. That's all you need.
That's all you need, guys. So no excuses.
And of course, bags
and
bags of charm, which
and love and care. Yeah. So we're not here to talk about how to get a girl. In fact, we're here to talk about how to keep a girl. Or keep a guy after you've got married, guys. And how to keep yourselves looking good. Right.
So, a few years ago, Beth and I had a really interesting conversation. And it went something like this. Bethel, I think we need to talk.
What about?
Well, I do have some concerns, and I'm slightly worried that, you're kind of not really looking after yourself.
Okay, tell me more.
I feel like, ever since we got married, you're kind of letting yourself go. I mean, you are beautiful and you are absolutely gorgeous. If anything, I think you're stunning in every way. But I think maybe we're having too many chocolates, and maybe we're really indulging in some of the stuff that Tesco has to offer, and maybe even Lidl. Maybe Sainsbury's, maybe too much of that. I don't know.
Did he actually just go there? Oh my gosh.
Well, I think it's important for us to have this conversation because I'd rather be honest. I think it gets more difficult and harder to actually... I think, for example, when we stand in the mirror, there's not enough room for the both of us. Sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And... yeah, I want to make sure that for the long term we're both able to stand in the same mirror and still cuddle if we need to,
Okay, guys, the conversation
didn't go anything like that, but it was just a very honest conversation around.
Yeah, I think
we want to have a good health as the focus for our family. So
we're talking about weight gain after marriage, right? What's it all about? Is it okay? Why do people let themselves go?
Or do they let themselves go? But anyway, yeah, we'll come to that.
Do they let themselves go, or do they not realize that they've gone?
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's easy for me to sit here because I've started my fitness journey and say that. But I have had moments throughout our life where I have let myself go. Or not let myself go, but the cares of life can just overwhelm you. And you just end up forgetting about yourself, and then you just prioritize everything and everyone else.
I just thought about something. So when you first meet this person, right? It's like there's that whole kind of game that you're playing. You're chasing the person.
You want to look
good.
You want to look good. Do your hair all the time.
But then something else happens after you get married. You've got this person that you really wanted to be with. And that whole desire to impress and to charm, to treat, whatever it might be, has kind of gone out the window. And now it's like the everyday humdrum.
And you know what the funny thing is?
Why should I bother changing? Because, I mean, I'm just here with you.
We're just at home. I'll just wear my head sock on my head all day. Won't bother to change.
Head sock. Oh my
I'll just wear my Ungongezi outfit.
Which she's got, by the way.
And yeah, I mean, it's not just about weight gain, but it's about presentation, how you present yourself in your marriage, dressing well. Don't look at me like I'm the only person who doesn't dress well sometimes. Sometimes you've been in the same tracksuit all week. Guys, this is not just about women, by the way. This is about guys and girls, okay? It's about both of us making sure that we are our best selves for each other. And that's something we discussed like in our marriage, like beginning of our marriage. We were like, right, we're not going to be that couple that just like lets ourselves go and then we're just going to turn either super big or like don't care about ourselves without having that conversation. I think that's an open conversation we've always had. Like after the first year of marriage, when I did put on weight, I was like, why have I put on weight? I didn't even understand. That's when I was taking the pill, and we did a video about that and how it impacted on us.
That was an interesting visit to the doctors.
Yeah, because I was like, what's going on? And everybody kept asking me, am I pregnant? Am I pregnant? And I was like, no, I don't think I am. Went to the doctors because I was like, listen, I'm just gaining so much weight. I think I might be pregnant.
So imagine after all of that, you know, you're talking to the doctor, you're saying, oh, this is what's going on. And then the doctor's like, so why don't we go on the scale? From, you know, I've got these headaches and my back hurts and, you know, I don't feel so great in my body. And the doctor's like, well, why don't we go on the scale?
Yeah, I know. And so when I went on the scale, I think at that point I was like 80 kilos or something like that, which is a lot because, again, as you would know if you've been watching my journey, I'm normally around 70 kilos for my height. So I'm 5'7", I'm quite tall. So that's about my normal weight, right? And then I was like 80 kilos. I was like, oh, snap. I jumped off the scale because I didn't want Mark to see it. And I was like, that was only like 4 months into marriage, actually. And I was like, oh my gosh. So he's like, oh, you just need to lose weight. And that's when the first time that I really needed to like go on a fitness journey in our marriage and stuff like that. And I felt like you were really supportive to me. And I felt like I could talk to you about how I felt in that moment. You weren't like horrible to me. You didn't say any horrible, mean comments about my weight. In fact, throughout our marriage, you've always been really loving and respectful. And you've always given me really good feeling about my body, whether it was huge or whether it was super skinny. Like you've always been so positive. So can you speak to the men out there? Like, what's that about? How did you manage to do that?
I will speak to a generation of men. No, but I'm sure most of you have heard about the green thumbs analogy, where if you know anything about plants or flowers, the only way you can nurture and nourish them is if you actually speak to them, because it's the sound waves and the frequency that actually makes them grow. So if you speak positively to them, they will blossom. So let's say you speak to them in a less encouraging way, they won't blossom as much. And so I've learned to apply the same principle with Bethel. It's not always easy and doesn't come naturally at times. It's a constant work in progress. And so you find that most of the time I'll try to be encouraging. So I'll say, for example, I think we're eating too many chocolates.
Yeah, he will always point out more the eating habits rather than my weight.
Yeah.
So I know you don't go, oh, you're getting big. No, you don't. You'll say things like, I've just been noticing our eating habits, honey, and like maybe we've been eating too much junk food, or maybe there's been too much chocolates. What's going on? And that opens up the conversation where I'll be like, yeah, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I've just been drowning myself in chocolate. I need help. Oh.
I need help. Yeah, so I think for me that's been the primary thing of actually, you know, let's have open and honest conversation about where we're at. So for example, as you said, the observations, oh, I think that's a bit too much chocolate. And so, and I think the idea behind that is just simply to communicate where I'm at about the situation with regards to weight and, you know, our health, but also to kind of stay aligned to the philosophy that we have around health.
Yeah,
and what well-being means,
that's
and the role that it actually plays in our family. For example, some people might not agree, but we've had kids later on in life, so to speak. And so, you know, by the time my kid's going to be like 20, you know, I'll be in my probably mid-50s or something, if not later than that. So the idea is that I want to be able to play basketball with them. I want to be able to go out for a run and things like that. And so in order to do that, I have to start preparing for that now.
Stay fit and healthy.
So I have to stay fit and healthy. I have to continue with my, you know, physical exercise and even mentally keep myself at a place where actually I'm engaged in all sorts of, you know, mind exercises or you know, physical.
So I think it's really, really important to be respectful to each other. Like you can have the conversation whilst being respectful. I think there's been times as well, like you've never ever, your body's not a body type that will like explode, but there has been times when you have put on,
and I get this all the time, your body's not the body type to explode. No, it's because I've got a fundamental philosophy that guides me in everything that I do. So for example, when it comes to food, I don't just indulge. I actually have to, I constantly monitor how much I consume.
That's true. And you like looking good and you like looking after yourself.
Crisp t-shirt, looking sharp.
I think there's been times, like for Mark, even though Mark hasn't put on weight, there's been times when he hasn't been maybe as physically as fit and he hasn't been like doing the things he loves, like playing basketball, going out and stuff like that. So that's why we're not just talking about weight gain here, guys. We're talking about, you know, keeping yourself well, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself active, keeping yourself engaged in the relationship, keeping yourself happy, and in that your confidence level is up, and that's also what makes you attractive to your partner. So you could be 100 kilo like I am right now and still be attractive because you're doing all the right things and you're going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Right? Or you could be 62 kilos eating chocolate every day and not healthy and not working out and skinny but actually not healthy. So yeah, we're not necessarily talking about being skinny, we're talking about being happy and healthy.
I think the other point, you know, kind of speaks to what you've just spoken about, looking attractive to each other. We live in a world where, naturally speaking, you know, even though we're married, you as Job said, I had to make a covenant with mine eyes. Mm-hmm. And so we want to be in a position where actually that person still looks just as attractive to you, and they can be your distraction, right? Mm-hmm. They can be your distraction, come what may.
Yeah.
And so that requires a guiding philosophy, a strategy, and continuous effort.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't just come easy and it doesn't come for free. You have to work hard at it. And I think this is the whole point of like being there for each other. You're in this for life. Like if your partner needs help, make it a whole family ethos. Don't just be like, oh yeah, you need to lose weight and be all like pointy fingers and stuff like that. Well, sometimes, you know, when you think about most of the time women would have had children, right? And they would have got that weight because they had some children, had your babies. Okay. And especially if women have had like 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6, it is not easy to come back from that alone because you also have the hormones that are going on. If you watched our video about postnatal anxiety, you'll figure out that there's a lot more than just eating involved when a woman gains weight. It's hormonal. There's so many fluctuations in a woman's body. And if you're one of those lucky women to not gain weight in pregnancy and to not gain weight after pregnancy, well, praise the Lord for you. No, genuinely, thank God for that, because it is hard when you gain weight, but it's not the end, right? We don't just sit there and go, yeah, I gained weight, I had your babies, and that's that. Just deal with it, Marco. No, because especially if you're still young, you've got your whole life ahead of you, and you've got so much more to gain. So it's never too late to start your journey.
I was going to say, I think the biggest part is how your weight affects your mood.
Yeah. Oh gosh,
I'm sure you can share a lot about
it. Really does affect your mood, and what I've noticed even in this, like I'm on week 3 now. If you've been following the journey, I don't you think my mood has changed?
We used to have, for those of you that aren't, I was going to say super holy, that watch stuff like, what's that stuff called?
You said the Hulk?
X-Men, and there's that woman called Storm. A character called Storm.
I like that. Stormy. But no, that's true, because then you never know whether it's like a rainstorm, a thunderstorm, a whirlwind, tornado,
hurricane.
Literally, it can be like that. A twister. But I have found, and
blizzard,
hailstorms. I have found that lately my hormones have actually been quite balanced. And Scott does talk about this, you know, he says it's better for you to do workouts in the morning because then you change your hormonal profile for the rest of the day. You get those endorphins out, you get that dopamine out, you get that hit in the morning, and you're feeling bubbly, you're feeling buzzy. And I did notice actually when I didn't do workout in the morning, I felt really down, and then I couldn't get out of it until I actually worked out, and then I felt much better. But Mark, I want you to speak to the men about how they can support their wives, women, when they're pregnant. And after, how did you support me to love myself, number one, but also in terms of practically around this whole thing of weight gain and the emotions that come with it?
So before we got married, just a point in case, before we got married, I used to love my sweet stuff. So I had a sweet tooth. And so I used to enjoy, you know, buying yum-yums, donuts, you name it, all the different, you know, sweet.
Yum.
Yeah. But after we got married, I noticed that Bethel also had a sweet tooth, and I thought, goodness me, what's going to happen to this house? If we're not careful,
we're going to become the house.
Yeah, we're going to become the house. And so I was able to tame my own passions for the sweet stuff. Because I was thinking about us, and I was thinking about our future, and I was thinking about, you know, what it means for us to be able to do that, and for the sake also of our children. So practically speaking, that was one thing that I did. I tamed my own, I don't want to call it demon, I think I tamed my own urge.
Sugar tooth.
Yeah,
sweet tooth.
Sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. And also just ensuring that, you know, for example, Bethel's somebody who's quite kind of, if you've got a plan and you've got a clear kind of direction of where you want to go, it's easy for her to kind of follow that routine based, so to speak. Yeah, so when it came to it, you know, we'll just sit down and talk about, you know, what's our health plan? You know, what is it that we're looking to do? So, for example, you know, what type of foods do we want to eat?
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a lot of research around, you know, what foods are good for our bodies, you know, and how is it that we can kind of start to eat the right foods that will help us.
And I think before kids, that was the biggest thing. We actually never had sweet things in our house. And it was a rule of thumb that if we wanted to have a sweet treat, we could. We just walk to the shop and get that specific thing, come home, have it. That would be like our luxury thing. And mostly that was goo. We'd walk to the shop for goo, come back. But we would have walked to the shop, so we would burn calories.
Days. Yeah, I do remember that.
We would have had a lovely time together. Yeah. And we'd come home, have our little treat, and we're done. Or even have it on the walk, you know. And it was really nice, but we never had sugary stuff at home. And even people knew that when they were coming for dinner, we were like, this is not the house where you're going to get tons of dessert, guys. We're healthy eaters, and that's our ethos. And slowly, when having children, that stuff kind of crept into the house, and I was kind of like, oh, whatever, I can't be bothered. But I think what you've always done is, like, whenever I'm starting a new program, you're really, really supportive, and you really just help me to stay on track. And you know that I struggle to have stuff in the house, so you like don't get it. Yeah. The funny thing is, in week 1 of my fitness program, he buys me the things I love, like macarons. I was like, why would you buy me macarons? And then he buys me a Magnum. I was like, right.
I think one of the things you really have to
buy me one of the
things you really have to do is try the person to see whether the decision they made is concrete. And so that's what I was doing in those moments. Actually, well, let's see if you've really made up your mind. When I came to, it was like, actually, no, I don't want to eat that. And like, do you know what? I'll support you all the way.
I didn't know that's what he was doing.
Well, because sometimes you can make sacrifices. Like, I can sacrifice and say, well, we're not going to eat this. And lo and behold, when Bethel gets in the car, she's driving out to wherever she's going, she's munching the same stuff.
That's true. No, that's true. Well, not now, but I did. Even in the first 2 weeks, before I started cutting my calories and cutting my sugar intake, there were low moments where I was just like, I need a Snickers right now. Especially because there was like stress. Whenever there was stress, I really want sugar. Not anymore as much now. Now I really want to go for a walk when I'm stressed, which is great. That's the right mentality. But yeah, so I didn't know you were testing me. Awesome. He was testing me, guys.
I don't think it was calculated, but it was just one of those things.
Yeah. But I think one thing that Mark has always helped me with is just to feel happy in myself, where I'm at, and even about my body. He's always spoken positively about my body, regardless of what stage it's in. Even when it was super massive.
Wow, that's impressive, Mark. Well done, you, Mark. Well done.
No, even when it was super massive with Micah.
Super massive?
Yeah, like, do you remember Micah?
Well, that's one way of describing yourself. Super massive.
Do you remember when you looked over and you couldn't see, like...
Oh, so we were driving one day, and I was just about to take a turn, and I had to glance over to my left to see if there was oncoming traffic, and I happened to turn and look in that direction, and I was taken aback, and I was actually startled, and I went, whoa! Quite loud, because I don't remember Bethel's frame being that
bigger than the
out of proportion, because normally you can kind of see past Bethel through the window. But on this occasion, I looked towards her side, and I kid you not, she'd literally taken up a significant portion of the window.
Mind you, this was like a week before Micah was due. Okay, I was huge with Micah. I had gestational diabetes,
well,
and
we went to. Is this when we went to the States?
No, I got big after the States, but this was 1 week before giving birth. So I was already fully massive, and you can see from the picture, guys. But even in that, you always like, you know, when you speak to the baby, you'd always say positive things. You're beautiful, mummy. You're gorgeous, mummy. Like things like that. You never made me go, oh, girl, you're getting big. No, you've never spoken to me like that. Like, no.
I think maybe also because I believed it was a passing moment. I don't think I've ever. Nothing within me ever said that this Bethel's here to stay.
This Bethel is here to stay.
Well, because in the past you've always been quite athletic. You've always been focused on actually eating the right kind of stuff, and so I think maybe because I was convinced that it was actually a passing phase, and if anything, we can always have an open and honest conversation about it and move on.
That's true, and I guess that's the thing. I have always looked after myself. before having babies, and it's something I love doing, and so I guess that's probably gives you confidence to know that that's part of me and that's what I like doing. I guess it's about trusting each other and having that loving, respectful relationship where you can honestly say to each other, I'm wondering if we're eating a bit too much here. And also, guys put on weight as well. Like, there's so many men who get married, and 1 year after marriage, it's like, whoa. And, you know, we don't drink, so I don't know where the beer belly is coming from. But it's like a proper salsa belly, like, you know what I mean?
Food.
And that's also not okay. It's not okay for men to just put on weight and not look after themselves as well. You know, what could encourage men, Mark, to look after themselves and not gain so much weight after getting married?
It's probably twofold, because I think, I speak for most here, and I'm generalising, I realise that, but within our community, once people get married, they forget everything to do with exercise, to do with keeping themselves, you know, looking good. And that
Nutrition.
plays a part. Yeah, that plays a part in them then, you know, kind of over time gaining more weight.
And also it becomes a thing of like, oh, I love my wife's cooking. You know, that's fabulous. Great that your wife's a great cook. But I think it's also about what are we cooking.
Well, true. And then the second part of it, because we're not as active once we get married, you know, for example, you know, you come home, you sit down, you chill out, you have a conversation, you probably watch a movie, reading books. And because of the nature of our work as well, you know, sometimes people don't get to move as much. But, you know, when you've got kids, and I don't know what your philosophy around kids is, because some people, you know, have kids so they can kind of play on their own stuff. But if you're the sort of parent who wants to, you know, be involved and take them out to the park and run with them and, you know, ride the bike with them, go to all these different activities with them and still be able to take part, you know, then that then comes into question of what are you doing to keep yourself active so that you can keep up with them.
Yeah.
And that's what it really is about.
Exactly.
For me, it's been about actually, you know, I want to be able to, at 15, and when Mike is 15, I want to be able to run
circles around him.
Yeah,
and it's about, exactly that. Going for walks as a family, going to trampoline parks. Like, everything you're doing is really active and moving and that kind of stuff. Keep yourself young, because that's how you keep yourself fun. Okay, guys, I hope that this has been a helpful video. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and hit the notification button so you can always get one of our videos. Leave comments. If you have really good tips on how to maintain your weight, leave them down here so that we can inspire other people. Thank you very much.